Mary Elizabeth, thank you for being here today. Can you tell me how you chose the decision to be a social worker?
Yeah, I went to Belhaven College in Jackson, Mississippi, and my intention when I went there was to actually become a nurse. Was going to major in biology and graduate in 3 years, and then go to nursing school. I loved college so much that I decided I wanted to stay an extra year, so I made biology my minor, majored in counseling, and by the end of that time, I was accepted both to Masters in Social Work and nursing schools. And I just felt like social work was going to be a better career fit for me, and got my master's in social work here at the University of Tennessee here in Memphis. And I graduated with my master's in social work in 1989 and have worked in many different areas of the field of social work since then.
Okay, knowing what you know now, would you go back and do anything, or like?
I really have been very blessed. When I graduated with my master's, I started at a hospital called St. Joseph Hospital, which used to be on the same area where St. Jude Hospital is. It's no longer there, but I worked as a medical social worker. I then have worked in both private practices. I've had a private practice. I've worked in outpatient programs and partial hospitalization programs, doing mental health counseling and dealing with people that deal with the disease of addiction. And I have, for the last 13 years, worked for Methodist Hospice, working as a bereavement counselor and doing the opportunity of what I love to do, which is working as part of a team. When you work in a hospital, you work with a lot of other disciplines. You get to work with nurses and aides and doctors and chaplains, and that's where I feel is the best effective method. For me, private practice wasn't the best fit just because sitting alone in a room all day long talking with folks is the right fit for some people, but for me, being part of a team is much more important, and that's why I love working with medical social work.
Could you tell me what your least favorite thing about the job would be?
Oh, good question. Probably the paperwork. I like being with people so much. I love what I get to do in my job currently is I get to counsel people without having the jumping through the hoops of having a private practice. I don't have to worry about billing insurance. We have people that are part of the hospital that take care of billing insurance, so I get to just do the counseling aspect. But paperwork is never the fun part. The parts that I love teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love mentoring. In my current role as a supervisor, I get to mentor people as well, while still having a kind of a smaller population that I do with counseling. I love group work. Group work is my favorite thing. So I get to do a lot of good things. That offsets kind of the headache of paperwork, to be honest with you.
Yes. Okay, after you graduated, was it hard for you to find a job?
I've been very blessed. The good thing with social work is there's a lot of different things you can do. Since graduating with my master's in 1989, I've never had any difficulty finding a job. You can work in hospitals. You can work in like a medical hospital like Methodist. You can work in a mental health hospital like Lakeside. You can work towards getting your LCSW, which allows you to be third-party billable. So if you do want to work in a private practice setting, you can do that. There's just a whole lot of different job opportunities if you get your master's in social work. But if you're thinking about making social work your major in undergraduate, then you really do have to say, I'm committing to getting my master's in social work. Because an undergraduate degree in social work doesn't do a whole lot for you unless you move towards your master's. And then eventually get your LCSW as well. Have you ever heard of an LCSW?
No, I have not. You can explain what that is?
Sure, I'd love to. What it is so you get your undergraduate in social work, then you go towards your master's. A master's in social work is a 2-year degree, okay? And then after you've gotten your master's, and once you've gotten a job, you're supervised by someone like myself that has what's called their LCSW, which is Licensed Clinical Social Worker. In order to get that LCSW, you have to have 3,000 clinical contact hours, which equals about 3 years, and then to be supervised, and then take a LCSW exam state specific to, like in Mississippi, if you're working in Mississippi, or if you're working in Tennessee. and then you get your once you've got those clinical contact hours, and then once you've passed your LCSW exam, then you are even more marketable. Like the current position that I'm in right now, it's an LCSW is required to be. I'm a manager of clinical support services, and you are required to have an LCSW to be in the job I'm in right now. In most hospitals, if you ever think you want to go into counseling, you want most hospitals require that you have a master's in social work versus a master's in counseling.
Okay. So master's in social work would be my ultimate goal?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
And it may seem like a long haul, but like I said, the master's in social work program actually goes pretty quick, because in addition to taking 2 years of classes, during those 2 years of classes, you also have practicums each year. You have a practicum your first year that lasts from August until May while you're taking classes somewhere in the field. And then for your second year, while you're taking classes, you have a second practicum, and you actually even are expected to accrue more hours. They build that into your class schedule that you're working in the field somewhere. So you're getting practical hands-on experience in the field of social work while you're also doing the classwork.
Okay. Could you walk me through your everyday schedule, or is it like a routine, or is it different every day?
That's what I love. No, it is not routine. For me, that's why I love also what I do right now, because I don't like just being in an office all day long. I might have a set routine, but because I also do a lot of grief counseling. An example could be, I was at the office one day last week and actually had, on Tuesday of last week, I had a 9 o'clock meeting with one of the folks that reports to me, and it was 8:15, 8:20, and I got a call from our hospice residents on Quince that we had a family whose loved one was actively dying, and they were having a really hard time. And so they called me to come and help the family, which they do very often, and I love that. Yesterday, which was Saturday, which is not my normal work day, we had a workshop called Tinsel and Tears, and it's a workshop that helps families whose loved ones have died and they're dealing with the holidays coming up. So I got to take care of these folks through a workshop and talking about how can they deal with the holidays while also dealing with their grief. And in the midst of all of that, I still had meetings I have to go to, still have to do that paperwork that I'm not the fondest of.
Yeah.
But the paperwork that I'm not the fondest of allows me to do the work that I do love. So it's, you got to take the bad with the good, and the good outweighs the bad for me.
Good. Okay, last question.
Okay.
Is there any advice you could give me now, going through the next 4 years, as to how I could be better at what your job is now?
I think just getting all the diverse classes that you could, you'll have the opportunity, to get, if you go into the field of social work, get a lot of different diverse classes outside of just counseling. Enjoy the diversity of college. Get what you need to get your master's, to eventually be accepted to a master's program, but also enjoy the diversity of college, because that's what being a social worker is about, is accepting people where they are. And so the more things that you can learn about different areas helps you out. Even though I never went to nursing school, like I said, I was accepted to nursing school, having a biology minor for me proved to be very useful, since the majority of my working experience has been in the medical setting as a medical social worker, either on the mental health side or in the hospital setting. And so having that minor in biology has actually proven to be very helpful for me. So what I would say is just, if you think you one day do want to become a social worker, just enjoy the diversity of college, getting a lot of different experience through different courses, because all that can lead up to helping you be a social worker. And there's really, I've been a social worker for a long time now, and there's a lot of different opportunities if you decide to go into the social work field.
Sorry, okay, not last question.
That's
Would
okay.
minoring in biology be the best route, or does it matter what you
I
major
loved,
in?
like I said, always loved science. For me, it was the right route. So, because in that way, like I said, if you get a minor in biology, the good thing with getting a master's in social work, your prerequisites would be covered if you became a social work major. I was a counseling major, it turned out, with a double major, but I ended up getting a minor in biology. So that can lead you towards getting into your master's program. Do you know what the GRE is?
I didn't know.
The graduate record exam is what you eventually will take to get into your master's program. So making sure you're good on your math, because you have to take, math is a big part of the GRE. But minor in biology, I love science, so I would absolutely say that's a great idea, especially if you think you ever want to work in the hospital setting, because the hospital setting is never going to do away with nurses. They're never going to do away with other disciplines, and they're never going to do away with social workers. And there's always going to be a need for medical social workers in the hospital setting.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time and answering all my questions.
I was about to say, do you have any other questions for me?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well,
maybe last minute advice or
and truly, if you ever, like I said, the good thing with being a social worker, it does offer a lot of opportunities. I would almost put in, you can, look out on Indeed or, any other job search sites and just put in social work. If you're ever wondering what other type of social worker jobs there are out there, just go to Indeed and put social worker. And you'll see there's adoption social workers, there's medical social workers, there's mental health social workers, there's working just from an administrative type social work position. There's all sorts of things out there. So that's one way you can also look and see what other type of social work jobs there are. And like I said, if there's anything I can ever do, you can, shadow one of our social workers and see what they do. Mm-hmm. It's just there's a lot of different opportunities for you to see if it would be the right fit for you. But
thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a fun job.
Good. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
If I pass.